you guys know who I am? Does anybody actually know who I am?
I do.
Besides being a wanker. Crazy American, you've got to forgive my English. Sorry, this is the way it is. So, for the guys who don't know who I am, I'm the founder of Airkooled Kustoms. We're one of the largest VW restoration companies. We also deal with Porsches in the United States. We do approximately 18 to 25 cars a year with a staff of 6. Think about that one for a minute. We're doing show cars, we're doing daily drivers, we're doing maintenance every day, day in and day out. Some of you blokes and ladies have actually wanted to be able to join the Airkooled world and go do this for a living. Guess what? You can do it. Don't be afraid of doing what you want to do. If this is a hobby, go ahead and kick it up to the next level. It's scary as fuck. Straight up. There is not a day that I do not wake up being excited, afraid, all at the same time. So I came all the way over here from Alabama. If you don't know where Alabama is, it's way far in the south. We're about 2 hours south of Nashville. If any of you guys know where Jack Daniels is, we're 20 minutes away from there. So Jack Daniels, right? There we go. So you can buy the factory. I wouldn't drink that crap. I like some single malt, but it's local. So we're gonna go ahead and have it. So, you know, the main reason that I came out here today is Kate and I have been friends for about 13 years. And this is the first time that I've got to visit your guys' beautiful city. This is just absolutely gorgeous. When in the United States we have something that's old, comes from the 18 to 1700s. You guys have something that's old, it's Roman. It's just bloody amazing, as you guys would say. So I'm here for a tech talk. Anything you guys want to know about Airkooled Kustoms, if you can stump me, I have giveaways. If it's a good question, I'm going to be giving out stickers for your buses. The one thing I ask is that you tag Airkooled Kustoms on Facebook or on Twitter or Instagram with a sticker, just to give us some props. That's all I ask. So I want to go ahead and get the first question. And if you have a little bit more bollocks, than most people, go ahead and ask a question, because somebody's probably already thinking about that question, but they don't want to go ahead and come up and say, hey, you know, what's up with this? So we're going to go ahead and open it up. I know we have a microphone out here somewhere. So Anthony's got the microphone, so put your hand up for any of the questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to ramble on and you're not going to understand anything that I say. So let's go. We have any questions for Tech Talks? There we go.
Well, nobody else came up.
There's always got to be a first one. By the way, you have a righteous mustache.
Thank you very much.
Hold on.
So this is a question for a friend of mine. I'd like to know, what does the American wear under his kilt?
The same thing a Scottish man wears under his kilt. If you need to ask, that is improper.
His wife's pants.
But if I happen to slip, I will be winking.
Thank you very much.
Do you have a question about Volkswagens or Porsches?
Sorry, no.
By the way, in the U.S., the kilts are actually quite popular. We've gone over the utility kilts, so it's more of a traditional, it's like wearing a pair of jeans versus wearing a pair of slacks. If you guys were happening to wonder. I know you have a question. No, you have a question. There we go, right up. Come on, Anthony, down.
This is a question for me. I've just fitted a adjustable beam to my Beetle 1971. I'm one of the arms on one side, seems about 20 mil lower down the other side, so it's the torsion bar is 500.
So you've got an uneven setup.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the rear side of your Beetle, you have 2 torsion bars that fit inside of your spring plates. Those are adjustable within 0.5 degrees. You can rotate one up on the inside and then rotate 2 down on the outside, and that will help level your ride out. The VW engineers were really, really good about doing the adjustability. Yes, the Germans lost the war, but God help their engineering. I mean, you have to admit, I mean, it works beautifully. So
Basically, just reverse it.
yes, you just reverse it until you get it right set. One of the things that we set up, if you have a, I'm not sure what you guys call it over here. We call it a digital, either digital or rotary canter.
Dialometer.
Yeah, that's all. You set it up at 21 degrees loaded. If it's set up at 21 degrees loaded on both sides, you're golden. You'll end up with a standard ride height. If you're going to be dropping it about, I'm sorry I don't convert into centimeters or meters. We never got that. If you want to drop about a 2-inch static drop, you're looking at about going ahead and we do what we call 2 outers up, 1 outer in. So you're taking the inside splines, which has 24, and you're taking the outside splines, which have 21, and then you can do that adjustability to actually maintain. And buses, T2s and T3s have the same feature for their rear suspension.
Right, so thanks very much.
You're welcome. Come up and get a second. Lovely.
Thanks for the
Okay, next. I try to be a little entertaining, but you guys gotta help me here.
Hello. I recently had an alternator fitted. It lasted about 3-4 hours. It was the best you could buy, but it's obviously carrying its crap.
My suggestion on the alternators, I'm not a big fan of alternators. I happen to like generators. And the reason that I like the generators is because they carry a separate stator or a voltage control box. So it's a separate unit. In the alternators, you actually have the voltage control regulator inside of the unit, and that's usually what fails. So you're having to spend another 110 pounds or $150 for a new alternator when it's a 5P part.
But I did change from a generator to an alternator.
So you just did the change. Did you go ahead and do the conversion where you bypass your voltage regulator? Okay.
My question is, can you change the alternator without having to drop the engine? I've got a
Oh yes. Yes. This is a Beetle or a bus?
No, it's a bus.
Okay, so what you're going to do on a bus is you're going to go ahead and unstrap your alternator strap. You're going to, do you have a Type 1 engine, a Beetle engine in it? Or do you have a Type 4 engine? Is it the pancake engine or the upright?
It's a Type 1, I don't know.
Is it an upright motor like this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's actually fairly easy. What you're going to do is there's 2 screws or 2 bolts on either side. I don't have enough microphone, but I'll show you here in a minute. There's 2 screws on either side of the fan strap. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and loosen up the strap that holds it down to the generator stem. You're going to loosen the 2 bolts on either side, and you're going to go ahead and lift everything up so you can clear. And then you can go ahead and remove your alternator without dropping your engine. On a Beetle, it's a little bit easier because you can remove your deck lid, but there's less room. So in running what we consider a T2, which is the bus, you have enough room to go ahead and lift up. And you only need 3 or 4 inches to be able to go ahead and pull that back out. And then you can pop loose your fan and make sure that you get your shims in correctly, otherwise your fan's going to rough. That's a big thing. When people put them back together, they forget the shims. And then another reason for a failure on an alternator for really quick is because they don't have enough shims in the front and the back. So you have to have shims behind it in order to maintain tension, and then you have to have shims in the middle of it to maintain the tension of the belt. So make sure all of that stuff is, there's a local guy, I don't know if he's here today, Jesse Jess. Kate. Katie! What is Jess's shop? Dub Tricks? Jess? Go talk to Jess over at Dub Tricks and he'll set you up beautifully. I've never met him. I've seen his work. He's on par, he's caliber. So, grab a sticker when you come on up. So hand off the mic to whoever you want. So nobody saw me. I've got some Volkswagen America print magazines. And then we're giving them away, and I've got some gear to give away also. But somebody has to stop me, otherwise I'm just going to be throwing this stuff out.
2 pints of lager, please.
Come on, mate.
Where should the fuel filter be on a 1968 T2?
Not in the engine bay. Never in the engine bay. And the reason for that, those little plastic filters that were coming from China have while they are very good for about 3 months, depending on how much ethanol is in your fuel. In the U.S., we have a 5 to 10% ethanol rating in our fuel. It's crap. But the ethanol will degrade the plastics. In fact, we've recently in the States gone over to SAE, which is the American version of the fuel hoses. We've gone away from the German woven hose because they're not rated for alcohol and they degrade. So we're seeing a lot of engine fires because people are putting these plastic parts inside of the engine bay, and it's causing fires. So there's a company in the United States that is doing, and we do sell them, we do install them, but we're not representative of them. I don't make any money on them. They're called Blaze Cut, and I believe they can be ordered here from Machine 7, and they are an automatic fire suppression system. You guys have 30,000 pounds, 50,000 pounds in your buses. Why would you not put 120 pounds of a automatic fire suppression system into your engine bay?
200 quid.
Makes sense.
200 quid here? Okay, but 200 quid, is that not worth saving your ride? It's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. Typically what we do on our fuel filters, they're always outside of our engine bay. On our Beetles, they come up out of the transmission tunnel on a hard line. We do a short rubber hose that is alcohol rated, clamp it there, and it comes up through the engine bay to a hard line. On the buses, we pretty much do the same thing. So we're coming down out of the fuel cock, up underneath the transmission, short line fuel filter, and then we do another short line to a hard line into the engine bay.
Yeah, so that's going to be behind the firewall as such.
Yeah, you have the firewall, but also make sure that you have a rubber grommet where it passes through the metal. Otherwise, you're going to end up getting wear out, and you're going to end up spilling fuel over hot exhaust. And then you have live spark with your distributor going. So what happens when you have spark and fuel? Boof! It goes bad. So, always keep your filters outside of your engine bay. It will last your bug and your bus and your Type 3 a lot longer. You're welcome. Make sure you get a sticker.
Where am I headed?
Can we be cheeky now too?
Oh, 2 questions. Just go. Awesome, man.
Well, we got one back here. Anthony. Going back here. You got to come out here so everybody else can see you. No, you don't have to be here. You come on out. Don't be wank. Or is it don't be daft? I get those confused. Like I said, it's a shame. For sure, dude. You know, like, totally. Yes, I can hear you. Put the mic close to you. So that's a 1305, a super fuel? Oh, you have a 1303, okay. Okay. It's crap. Yes. Well, the fuel injection, there was 2 types of fuel injection for the VW Beetle. There's 2 different, there's a J-jet and a D-jet. So you have a D-jet? Yeah. Okay, when the system works, it works beautifully, it's very fuel efficient. It gives you good pickup, good go. It works gorgeous. When it stops working, it's crap. So part of the thing that we've seen in the States, at least from my experience as a rebuilder for 15 years, is a lot of people are like throwing them away because while there's nothing wrong with the injection system itself, it's a mechanical pickup off the distributor. There's a lower set of points on the bottom of the distributor that fires. So what's happening is when you have that fire of that fuel shot, you're actually getting a fuel shot number 1 and number 3 at the same time. And then you get a fuel shot of number 2 and number 4 at the same time. The main thing about the B-jets and the E-jets is they are very sensitive to voltage and vacuum. As long as your vacuum lines are in place and all of your electronics are not degraded in the injection system, it will work brilliantly. A lot of the people, though, are taking them off. If you happen to take off that B-jet, you're actually going to have to change the heads and the pistons because the compression ratio is actually different in the fuel injection than it is in the carbureted motor. While you can run a set of carburetors on that motor without doing the change-out, your performance will lag. So make sure your wires are good. Make sure you don't have any loose leads. Make sure you don't have any bad grounds, and make sure your vacuums are good. After that, everything's going to run beautifully. Thank you for your question.
I think it's just giving up.
Anthony, we got a guy in here. And pardon my kilt, I actually have to like them. I have 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, I'm just, what, you know, when you do your, the vans up and everything, what clutches do you stick in, what makes the clutch do you stick in your van?
Yeah, they can handle it, Steve. Brand of clutch. Generally we use Mahalik. Kill the feedback. Generally we're using a Mahalik clutch. Which is the same as the pistons and cylinder PNCs that you guys are getting. Bosch is also a really good clutch. That was the factory brand thing. I'm not a big fan of the overpowered clutches like the 1700, like CB Performance, unless your engine deck saves it and you actually have a left foot that will actually be able to push it. When you get the tighter clutches, it's either all in or all out. With a normal mild motor up to about 1776, 1835, you're going to be probably within the stock clutch. Yes, you're going to burn them out a little bit, but if you go to a 1700 double spring, your foot's going to hurt yourself and you're going to hate driving your car. I'm just straight up. I would always go with a lighter clutch, and yeah, you will burn them up with a little bit bigger motor, but
It's running 1641.
1641 on a stock clutch for how Yes, we were talking about that. We were talking about, you actually have to park it on the center.
Once it's in garage.
Yeah, once you're in the garage, you're fine. Going ahead and going down a hill, as long as you're not parked down that hill, you're not going to be leaking fluid from the transmission into the clutch. They can't park it on a hill. I'm just telling you because you're going to leak. You're going to get transmission fluid or engine oil fluid onto your clutch, which is going to cause your clutch to slip.
Right.
So when you're parking these vehicles, you have to remember that it's not like a brand new Skoda.
Well, the gearbox is just being stripped down to the
It doesn't matter. There's still, you have a tolerance around the input shaft and then around the outer seal. That's going to leak a little bit of fluid if you're on an incline either direction. You're either going to get it from the engine, from the rear main seal, or you're going to get it from the transmission of the pinion shaft seal.
either way.
Either way, you're going to get fluid if you're parked like this for any length of time. If you're doing it overnight, I wouldn't do it for too many nights.
Right. What about fire restoration? Fire windows?
Safari windows, we can get used to it. No, there's a guy in the States, his company's called Loose Nuts. Yes, Loose Bullocks. But he actually makes a new safari window, brand new, as a box, stainless steel or cone. They still leak. I had a set on my 62 bus. I'm about ready to buy one for a 1969 ragtop, which is my personal car. And it's a Beetle Safari, but it's still in the leak. It's water's going to get in where water's going to get in. Would I drive a car without the Safari window? No. But am I going to take it out in the rain and when it's piss pouring? Most of the time not. If I get a little bit of water, coming in from the show, I'm okay with that to put a couple pounds left. It's the nature of the beast. There's no way to actually completely seal a Safari window. It's just, it can't happen. Yeah, loose nuts. Yeah. Yeah, it's basically it's a sea channel seal with a felt or a rubber bulb. So you guys don't have too many fastbacks and squarebacks here. So in the States, that's actually a fairly popular model. We've got, they have a set of door seals in Mexico, and they did the Mexican Beetles for the engine compartment and for the front bonnet. They actually did this type of seal. So it's a C channel with a little bit of metal, just like we would do your pop-out windows in the Beetle on the back. So it has that same type of clamping action. And then it's got a rubber bulb seal that goes around it. You can buy it in bulk from industrial suppliers if you don't want to spend an arm and a leg. You can actually hit us up on Facebook or email us and we'll send you out a roll to do about 5 or 6 cars. Yeah, you just get a good quality seal. You're going to want like a 3/8 inch rubber set. And make sure that when you do your splice is on the bottom, so if you have any drainage, it all goes to the bottom instead of going to the top. Thank you. Up. The guy with the plugs with the sparkle shirt. By the way, you have a righteous beard.
Where's he gone? Miss you. Oh,
Okay, you
jumping
need to take off
first.
the glasses if I'm talking to you. Either that or I have to have the glasses. One or the way or the other.
79 Type 2, an AD code engine.
1800 cc.
No, it's 1641.
So you have 1641 Beetle engine in a late model bus.
Yeah,
Why?
because that's what it comes with,
Okay.
right? The question is,
9-row transmission or 3-row?
sorry,
Your transmission, does it have 3 rows on it?
Three.
Okay, so you have a 3-row transmission. Okay.
What I'm wanting to know is what the timing should be set at. And
What's your distributor?
this I don't know because it's...
Is it a 009? Is it a vacuum
Oh yes,
advance?
vacuum advance.
Okay, so it's a vacuum advance. Is it 034? Is it 018? That depends on what it is.
Right.
So on the bottom of your distributor, you're going to find a series of numbers. On the last 3 digits is going to be your timing location. So if you have a 009 at full advance, I would suggest about 23 degrees at 3,000 RPMs. Don't worry about your static. Don't worry about at idle because how often are you idle? Normally you're full on into it. So with a distributor, and that's actually a really good question. A lot of people don't understand that the timing of an engine actually has to do with more the distributor than it does with the fuel delivery system or with the actual size of the engine. I've run 019s and that timing is at 23 degrees full advance. I run 101s, 100s, so 010s, and those are 18 degrees. I've run vacuum distributors, which are 034s or 037s, and those are actually running about 32 degrees at full advance. I've run 009s, and you don't want to do any more than 38 degrees. I usually like to run those at about 27, but each engine is going to be a little bit different, depends on your compression. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and baseline your engine on full advance. So at 3,000 RPM, put a timing light on it. Start at 27 degrees. Don't go further than 32 degrees. Go out and drive the car. If it feels sluggish, pick it up a little bit. If it's starting to ping, back it off a little bit, but you never want more than 900 RPMs on idle. So if you're idling at 1300 RPMs and at 32 degrees, you need to back that bitch down because you're going to blow up your motor. Because you're putting too much timing into it. So the more timing that you're putting into it, the faster the spark is hitting. So if you're hitting spark before the fuel actually delivers, you will melt your engine down, and that's not cheap. I don't know what engines cost here, but for in the US, your motor would probably be a long block at 4,500 US, which would be 3,200 pounds just for a long block. And then you've got to put a carburetor on it, you've got to do the exhaust, you've got to do the heater boxes, you've got to do all of that. So, any other questions?
No, that's it.
Did I help you?
Yep.
Okay, you can put your glasses back on. Good afternoon. Okay, so the pancake in there? Okay. I actually like the 2.0 motors. They actually have a bigger oil passages. They're all aluminum instead of aluminum and magnesium like the 1.7s and 1.8s. The thing I would actually look for is, one, what do the heads look like? So if you're buying a low mile engine to put in, is it, am I understanding correctly? Okay, so even on the 1.7 engine, you're going to see probably about, if it was put together correctly and balanced, you're probably going to see about 95 to 97 horsepower up your wheel. The 2 liters is 103. So, you know, there's really not that much difference between the 1.7 and 1.8 and the 2.0. The biggest thing that I would actually watch for on those is to make sure that you have your seals in place, because the 2-liter motors are actually more susceptible to heat coming in from the exhaust side. A lot of people let their seals fail. And if their seals are failing, then you're going to be getting exhaust gases that are 110 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit coming up into your carburetors and then working your system. Remember, you have a giant air pump. The cooler the air going in, the more dense it is, the more power you're going to make, the healthier your engine will be. Keep your oil changed, and you're pretty much good. It's not necessarily an air-cooled engine. It's really cooled by oil.
The 127 Ford is military stock engine, opposed to the 1.7 commercial stock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the same motor. It's the same set of pistons. The other thing I would probably watch out for is your compression ratio. With the commercial engines, they tend to be a little bit lower compression than the residential, than the normal engines. The industrial engines were lasted for less horsepower but more runtime. So that's one of the things that you kind of have to look out for. You're going to notice a little bit of less throttle response. And you can pick up a little bit of timing in that, but I would never go more than 32 degrees. Do not put a mechanical distributor on those. Ensure you run the vacuum advance, and the motor will help you for it. And keep your valve adjustments in play. If your valve adjustments aren't done on that motor, you can suck a valve back into the engine, and your engine's pretty much toast. I mean, you have this big slide of metal going into your pistons, and it's not good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We got one back here, and then we got one back here, and then we got one over here. By the way, you guys are playing. I appreciate all those questions. You are ugly, but I like you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
First question, what time's the proposal? You can't answer that one, can you? Can I have a t-shirt?
Understood.
Oh.
So we gave out the first t-shirt, and it's not really fair, but we'll go ahead and get that one.
Okay, first question for me. I've got an early bay,
Okay.
discs on the front, but they both keep season and locking.
I'm sorry, say that again, please?
Discs on the front of a bay, but they literally seize and lock when I'm driving. The only way to release them is I've got to slam the brake pedal and they pop off again.
Yeah.
We've stripped them, rebuilt them. Any ideas?
There's a couple things going on there. So if you're having a stall problem, so it's like you get up to speed and it just like cuts out?
No, the brakes are locking on.
Okay, the brakes are locking on.
Yeah.
On an early bay, this sounds really weird. You never have a problem with your proportioning valve, ever. I pulled them out of junkyards. 20 years setting, rusting, and we have a proportioning valve between the front and the rear on the bays. I've seen them go bad, but they very rarely go bad. Either that or you have a master cylinder push rod that's not adjusted correctly. So you'll have a lockup on the rear or a lockup on the front because you're not getting a release on the fluid. That is a noisy dog. So my first check would be make sure that you have about 2 to 5 millimeters of play before you go ahead and you hit your brakes, so that the rod is going in, so you have a little bit of residual pressure bleed. If that doesn't take care of it with the adjustment, I would actually look at the proportioning valve. And I just went through this with one of our clients' vehicles. It drove one of my shop manager, Rodney. It drove him nuts for probably 3 or 4 days until we figured out it was a proportioning valve. So that would be where it would look, even though they never go bad, they go bad.
Okay.
Good. Anthony, we got one here and then one back here. And then one back here. What about the tall guy over here? Yeah, he said he had some questions for me. Come on, mate. What's close?
Hi Eric, thank you for coming over all this way.
Oh, no problem. I love this.
So, 1964 Type 3 notchback.
Oh, how come it's not here? Okay.
It was here last year.
I'll give you that one.
Okay, 1500 single-port engine.
Okay, good motor.
Yeah, and it's 34 Weber cars.
Are you running the dual baby revs? The dual
cars, yeah.
dual baby revs? Okay.
Yeah. So, starts fine, idles perfectly, absolutely perfectly. When warm, everything's absolutely fine. But when still cold, the second put the clutch in, engine dies every single time.
Do you happen to know what your mains and your idle jets are?
I haven't got a clue.
Okay, that's the first thing I would look
The
at.
only thing I can say is, it's got the sign.
Yeah, don't push the button. There we go.
Okay, all I can say is when I got the car 8 years ago now, and everything was fine. The only thing I've done with it is got the control box.
Okay.
And ever since then, I've had this problem, so I have to start it. I started it idle for about 2 minutes before I pull away. Otherwise, it's quite embarrassing.
Okay, so on the baby rubbers, is there a choke, electric choke on this car?
No choke at all.
Okay, so when you go ahead and start it up, you do 2 pumps and it starts right up, right?
It'll starts up fine.
Okay, yeah.
Idle's fine.
Yeah, until it warms up, and then when you shut it down, nothing.
Yeah.
You have too much carburation.
Right, okay.
Your idle jet is too big, and your main jet is too big. I would probably, like on your main jet, I would probably look at like a 135, a 0.135, and then on your idles, I would probably look at about an 85 to a 90. A lot of it has to do with elevation of the motor size. I can actually, afterwards, I can get you a chart for the baseline setups that we do for elevation and for the size of the engine, because that actually has a lot to do with it. Anytime that you have a set of carburetors with no chokes and the car starts right up beautifully, that tells me that you have too much fuel going in, because with a set of dual carbs, I've got my own personal car is a 1914 cc motor in a Type 1 1969 Beetle. I have to pump the accelerator pump about 7 or 8 times just to get it to start. And then once I get it to start, it's rough running until it warms up, and then I'll pull about. I don't know if you have a head temperature. I want to look at like doing a video head temp. As long as you're within 305 to about 355 degrees at operating temperature, that's about where you want to be. But I've noticed that if I was over-carbureted, so I had too much fuel going into the engine, it would start right up, run beautifully until it got warm, and then it run like a dog. And, you know, I don't know why they say that, because dogs actually run pretty good. But, you know, it would run like shite, as my friends from Bournemouth would say.
Okay, well, like that. Are you coming back next year? Because I'll bring her along next year.
Well, you know, it depends on what's going on, depends on the television, depends on, you know, there's a lot of variety. I know Kate wants me back here. Yeah, I love my sister. So, if you guys don't know, I've actually known Kate for 13, 14 years now. So, this has just been absolutely brilliant to actually come over to her show and enjoy her hospitality. And then she's got a lovely flat that she's like hasn't even been in, and we've been sleeping in her bed and stuff.
Thanks for that. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Yeah, so go ahead and de-jet a little bit, at least one size. Bring it down, jet. You can order those online. Effie's got them. And to be honest with you, I would actually get a full set of jets. And then you can buy those. It's like in the US, it's $25 for a full set. And then you can go ahead and play with it, and you can tune your engine in to where it actually is moving correctly. So don't put too much fuel in it. You know, it runs beautifully at idle. It ain't gonna run like crap once you get on the highway. We have a guy back here? Okay. I can't see him, but...
No, see him.
Oh, there we go.
Have you got an XL t-shirt in the bag? Because
Well, we might.
it will fit me.
We might, but you have to actually stump me on a question.
Is that not scrumptious?
Do I look like a piece of toast?
Can I have a sticker, please?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Do you actually have a question for VWs? No. So whoever's got my favorite question, we actually have a book called Blood, Sweat, and Vintage Steel that's available on Amazon. I'm not telling you to go buy it. You actually get it for free if you're on Kindle. But I have a copy here, and we're going to be giving that away tonight, either at here, or I might just do it randomly because I think you guys are brilliant.
Hello, right, I've got a 1968 Beetle.
68?
Yeah, 68.
Is it pre 768 or 868 post? There's a difference.
Right, I'm not sure what it was.
It's a split year. Trust me on this one. I just went through this in one of the cars.
Only question I have, can't answer that. It's about the full suspension. I've had a couple of adjusters welded in, the sway adjusters welded in the bin.
So you did the alligator plates, or you did the sway away?
The sway away.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll give it to somebody who has a new one who would do it. So I got back. When I've got it back, I've tried adjusting it every which way I can, but I don't seem to get very much suspension travel at all. It just seems like the front end is solid.
Okay.
It's just right up or right down.
Okay, so on the shocks on that?
Yeah, the shocks. I've tried disconnecting the shocks.
And you still don't get any rotation?
No.
That means whoever built your beam didn't know what they were doing.
Right. That's what I thought.
I mean that's what it is, because on a front Beetle suspension, you have a 5 degrees difference between the front set of torsion bars and the lower set of torsion bars. Right. And they do that specifically. Here, hold the mic for a minute. To do this.
Yeah.
So you have tension coming down and you have tension coming up at the same time. And some of the guys who really don't know what they're talking about on suspension, hey, I can weld this part in for you, no problem. Hey, mate, no problem. You know, and they can be a great welder, but if they don't understand the suspension geometry, it's not going to function. If you're trying to do, when you bought it, was it a neutral beam, a +1, a -1? So it was a standard beam and had adjusters put into it?
Yeah.
Okay, so when they did the adjusters, did they do +1 degree, +2 degree, -1 degree?
Yes, we had it so the highest point it would be back this side, and then it would go down from there.
Okay. Do you have drop spindles on that also?
No.
Okay. My suggestion would be to go to a narrow beam with no adjusters and to drop spindles. Because what that does is the spindles will actually keep the same geometry in the suspension. So you won't have that canter back into it. So one of the things that I used to do when I first started my company was I built a lot of suspensions. I probably built 150 adjustable suspensions. I like the Aegis style adjusters. I don't like the sway away because of how they lock in together. It was a good design back in the day, but the Aegis adjusters actually do much better. The Brazilian style.
Is it possible to have the actual torsion bars the wrong way around?
Yes, that is possible. But the other thing that you might want to look at is that the torsion bars might be used torsion bars that they cut down to a set. I have seen torsion bars where they wear out. Now I know Machine 7, I haven't bought any parts from them, they're not paying me nothing. You guys have some good part suppliers, and you can actually get narrowed pre-made torsion bars that are brand new. And that would be the first thing I look at, because you might be having a problem with the pinch steel.
Get your beer last night.
It's spring steel. So you might have a problem with it, it's just worn out. So in the U.S. we'll actually see like cars, this is a beautiful example. In the U.S. we'll actually see a lower side on the right, because our driver's side is over here, and then we'll see an upper side on the left, and all that is that's just the torsion bars that have more wear on the driver's side, because typically there's only one person in the car doing the driving. So you're figuring 30, 40, 50 years, you're going to get more wear, more weight on one side. So, and I would never suggest turning them over and flipping them. Do not do that. You will actually have brakes. Because the spring steel is actually set up specifically to rotate in one direction. Okay. You get a cigarette? Did you get a cigarette? Okay.
We're going to go.
I know you're there.
Rob, your moment of glory.
Yeah, boy.
Go.
1641 engine.
Okay.
Type 1, obviously. 36 autos on it, the RLAs. Quarter fuel pump. Quarter fuel pump. I'll pass a 67mm regulator. Why am I getting petrol coming out of the manifolds?
You probably have too much fuel pressure moving.
Just that.
Yeah, you need like 3.5, 2.25 to 3.5 pounds per square inch on your fuel pump.
I set it to 2.5, came back to it, flooded that again, went back to it, and set it at 4.
Yeah, your regulator's going bad.
I bought a new regulator.
Yeah, well, the regulator's going bad. I've seen regulators come bad out of the factory, out of the box, 5 or 6 of them in the box, and if you look at the lot number, they're all the same. So it's like brand new parts doesn't mean it's going to work. Sometimes brand new parts out of the box are bad.
Yeah.
God, that's cost me a lot of money over the years. Well, you know, I've got to pay for a guy to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, one of the boys who works for me will spend 2 or 3 days trying to figure out a problem, and we're replacing parts, and it's the same part that we're replacing, but it's the same lot number. So if you're spending fuel up, you've got too much fuel pressure.
Just that.
It's
It
just
couldn't fuel quote even.
no, it's just too much fuel pressure.
And it was sack of tuna then.
Yeah, you just need to back it down. Don't use rotary pumps. So you don't want the pressure pumps. You don't want the boom, 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 boom. If you're doing a stock setup, that'll
It's
give
not a
you.
stock setup, it's a quarter rotary.
So it is a rotary.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you actually want to check on a PSI gauge
Yeah.
on the output side to see how much you're doing. You can do that via a timer. So it's like in 1 minute you're gonna get so much fuel out. In 2 minutes you're gonna get so much fuel out. And if you figure a 2.5, I don't remember the calculation.
I've got a dial.
So you can dial it back.
Yeah.
So do you have the dial back regulator? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or do you actually have a pressure regulator?
Pressure regulator.
Okay, so you have a real pressure regulator. What do you have that set at?
It's meant to be at 2.5 at the moment.
Okay, it's meant to be. What is it actually set at?
That was yesterday.
Well, that's the thing. It's like it might be saying 2.5, but you might be running 3.5, 4.5, even though the gauge is saying this. So typically on our engines, if we're doing a pressure regulator, I'll actually go ahead and put a liquid-filled gauge in between to check my fuel. And if I see
one of them is not liquid filled.
yeah, just a little one. Yeah, just a little one. Put that in line on a T, and you should be running about. Yes, 2.5 on the PSI, so that's probably going to be 10 pounds on that gauge.
Them gauges, is it safe to leave them in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an inline gauge, and it's just a secondary that comes back up and back down. So you're going to put that on a 3-way T.
Yeah.
So you have a regulator and you have a pump. So that's where that gauge is going to set up.
Yeah. Beautiful.
You still get a t-shirt because that was a hard one. What size are you?
XL, mate.
XL. What size is your wife?
Bigger than me.
Bigger? Oh, I don't even want to know that one. We're not going there. Tell you what, Nate. We got a hat. Just because I don't want you to get sunburned.
Going back to your earlier question or answer on the fuel injection regarding changing heads and pistons.
Yeah.
Would that apply to a Type 4 engine?
It applies to all of these.
So American Spec Westphalia, 2 litre. So what is the issue then with the pistons on the heads?
Yes,
They've been converted to rebels.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So if in the US spec we had the fuel injection didn't actually start until the 1800cc engine. So we had the 1600, we had the 1700. We had 2 different versions of the 1800cc, and then we had the 2 liter. And the 2 liter is actually a 1.9 plus. Typically on the fuel injection engines, the head clearances are about 3 thousandths less. And then you also have a domed piston, which increases your compression ratio. So on those engines, if you're running a carburation system, while the carburetors will work, you have to lean them out way more than you ever would with a normal carbureted engine, because the fuel injection was injecting into the cylinder on a much higher pressure, and so you needed more compression in order to fire it. So it's like if you have domed piston cylinders, you need to change them over to flats. Your compression ratio should be about 9 to 1, 10 to 1, 11 to 1, depending on the fuels that you're using. One of the cars that I've got running right now is running at a 7 to 1 compression ratio, which means I have to put 130 octane into it, no alcohol. Because the compression ratio is so high that it needs that octane. Now remember, the higher the octane that you guys are running, the actual lower the temperature the engine is firing at. It's the exact opposite of what you're thinking. So if you're doing like your normal Skoda or your Caravan or whatever, oh, we'll go ahead and put some 95 or some 98 to make the engine feel better, the engine doesn't care. So it really doesn't. So it's kind of a waste of money. But if you're running a high compression engine, you need that extra octane to actually lower the temperature of the firing, because the fatter the gases get, the hotter it gets. You have a higher octane, it actually lowers the temperature in the engine.
Just use standard unleaded.
Yes, standard unleaded, you're fine.
I do got a lot of engine.
That means that your advance is probably too far. You have too much advance in your time. So I would actually back off about 1 or 2 degrees go out and floor it, go thrash it. If you're still getting the pinging back enough 1 or 2 degrees, and you'll find that nice happy sweet spot where it's not falling on its face and it's not pinging. If you're pinging, you're actually doing detonation, you're doing what's called a pre-detonation. So you have an explosion inside the cylinder before the cylinder's all the way up and filled with fuel gas. So you actually have a hot spark, and then you have a wash of gasoline going into it, which cools it down, which causes the ping. So you have an explosion at the wrong time to actually push these engines. And these engines are extremely sensitive to temperature. So you really need to pay attention to that. So either go ahead and go to, what octane you're using?
Just standard unleaded.
Yeah, so 85? 88?
95.
Is it 95? Okay, can you get lower here?
No.
Okay, so you need to basically back your timing down until you quit getting the pinging under full load. That's the main problem that you're having. Okay?
I'll buy T4. Do you want to buy T4? This is the guy down there. And then I've got another one over there. Right.
And by the way, while we're waiting to have people up here, if you have not had some of this beer from Brass Castle, they are not paying me, but it is flipping brilliant. I love it. And then the young lady over here is another American, so you can like listen to her accent and go, yeah, that's kind of crazy. But Brass Castle, if you guys can get this in the States, I'm in. Yeah, we'll talk. I need a refill. Since I'm really warm. Okay, but it depends on the model. So which model do you have? You have a 67 Type 1? Okay, so have you replaced the fuel sender unit yet?
It's the sort of waving at me
Well,
as you drive.
I know it's waving at you when you drive, but what I'm asking you is, have you replaced the fuel sender unit?
Yes.
Okay, is it electric or is it mechanical? Okay, the first thing I would actually do on the waving side is you actually need to look at, how do I explain this? If you've had it replaced, it's probably not adjusted correctly. There is on those type of float systems, there's a small rod, and then you have a plastic or a brass float. That's at the end of it that actually raises and lowers it. With the mechanical system, it's just looking for how much tension is on that cable. If you already replaced the cable, there's a possibility that the cable's too long in the sheath, so it's going to sit there and have too much vibration. The second part that you need to look at is to make sure that that arm is actually attached correctly and that you don't have any free play in the float where it holds onto the rod. The biggest thing that we've seen with the later model stuff, at least in the States, is that they almost never adjust that rod correctly. So what we actually will do when we're setting up a brand new fuel gauge, electric or mechanical, is we'll actually keep it out of the car, hook it into the fuel gauge itself, and make sure all the mechanicals are right. And then go ahead and you do that full drop, so you're at empty. You go ahead and do that full stop, and then we're at full. If it's not, you go ahead and make an adjustment by bending that rod.
Is it worth changing to electric or mechanical?
No, no. If you have a good mechanical system and everything's working correctly, I'd leave it alone. Just make sure the cable is lubed. So go ahead and spray some WD-40 or some liquid penetrant down that cable so you get it out the other side to make sure the cable's moving freely. Because a lot of that back and forth, up and down that you're getting is just as the cable like tensions and moves and does that kind of stuff. Generally, I don't pay attention to the gas gauge. If I run out, then I'm gonna run out. But
That's the secret question, right?
yeah, well, I get that too. Make sure you get a shirt for your missus. So whatever size she's got, because that was a really good question. A lot of people ask that. So what size are you? Small? Okay, come see me.
I ain't got an extra large. I don't do that. There you go. Yeah.
So the only requirement, if you guys got shirts today, I want to see them either on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. If you guys are good for that. So we had somebody over here?
Yeah.
Again, okay. So you're really trying for the t-shirt or the magazines here, right?
I think I've got it.
Okay, you got it? Let's go.
Yeah.
Game on, motherfucker.
What was the real name of the Beastie Boy who used to wear the VW badge on his gold chain?
We have issue number 10, Votes America. That was actually really good because I'm not a Beastie Boys fan. I like some of their earlier stuff, but my musical taste is extremely eclectic. So I'll go everything from the Eagles all the way over to Yanni. So yeah, it depends on what mood I'm in. So come up and get Votes America issue 10.
It was my diamond.
Oh, very good. Thank you for stumping the expert. I appreciate that. That's the first time I've been stumped in probably 15 years. I have yet to give these things away.
Can I swap that for a t-shirt? XXL. You've got one. I don't do that.
I have to send some over. I'll send some over to Kate. It's not really double X's.
She knows. She knows.
I didn't think that all the bricks were all that big. Everybody's telling me that they're smaller than they are.
Pardon?
Everybody's telling me they're smaller than they are. Oh, you know, I'm a medium, and it's like I'm looking at them going, that's a large in the U.S. Oh no, it's not. It's a medium. I'll send one over. Talk to you later.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, wait, thank you.
What's your name?
Steve.
Steve. Good to meet you.
A Porsche 914.
Oh, I love the 914.
With that for on T2.
Is it a 171820? 20, good rudder.
And I do oil cooler with oil bypass sensor and box with so I'll go to it. And if I leave it stuck for about 2 or 3 days, I've got like a drain back of all the oil back into the sink.
So your battery system is draining after 2 days of sitting?
After 2 or 3 days sitting, start it up and it's just for a while to go back. But once it's warm and being running all day, every day, it's no problem. After it's been stood for about 2 or 3 days, it's drained back into the sun.
Okay. We've actually seen this, and we see this in the bus motors, which are pretty much the same motor as far as the mechanicals. The pistons are a little bit different, the cylinders a little bit different, but running the 2.0 motor, it typically, if you're sitting for a while and you're having a hard time getting started, that's your problem?
No, it starts first time every time. It starts brilliantly. It's just the oil.
It's just the oil?
It's just the oil. It drains back into the sun after 2 or 3 days being stood.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's normal. It's got to go back into the sun because everything drains back down.
But it takes quite a while for it to build the oil pressure back up.
Ah, okay. Okay, now I understand the question. You might want to look at the low pressure relief valve.
I tried changing the pressure release valve.
Oh, there's 2 of them on the motor. Did you change them both?
There was only one on this one.
No, if it's a 2.0, there's 2 of them.
One at the back and one at the front.
One at the back, one at the front.
One at the back. Can't see it nowhere. There's nothing nowhere for it to be.
Did you get the check valve removed?
On the front one, I replaced the spring on the actual check valve.
Yeah.
But it seems the situation worse. So the old one back in.
I would actually, we've actually seen this on some of the motors that we've done and that we're trying to resurrect. I would actually go with a stronger spring. Go with the next straight spring up, and you can actually get that from VW. So any of the VW parts houses, tell me you have a 2.0 liter motor, don't tell them it's a Porsche, otherwise it's going to cost you an extra 50%. And just tell them you need the pressure relief valve. Say I have a stock one, but I'm having some bleed down issues. So what's happening is that spring in the pressure relief valve is just loose enough where that check valve is draining itself back down.
Yeah,
So the spring is basically worn out.
I could actually replace the spring and the check valve with a stronger one.
So even with a stronger one,
you think it could be sealing properly on that?
it actually could be the sealing point on that. You might want to run a set of hose on that. But 9 times out of 10, from what I have seen over the last 15, 20 years, is that even with brand new parts, we still see some of those problems. You're going, well, that should have fixed the part, but we put another lot number into it, so a different manufacture date, and it fixes the problem. I've run like 5 or 6 distributors through the same car, and I would have the same problem over and over and over and over. And it's like, well, wait a minute, this is a brand new distributor. Yeah, exactly. But you would have that, but it would be the same thing on that pressure relief valve. So you would have that spring, if it's the same lot, if you're buying the same one, oh, this is failing, this is failing, this is failing, I would actually look at the lot number and get a different lot number. The second thing I would check is actually where the ball is actually sitting up in the engine to see if you have any nicks for the leak down. It takes very, very little for the oil to actually pass through that check valve. So if you have a little bit of scarring, a scratch, anything, that'll cause leak down after a couple of days.
So that's where the problem is on that.
It's either on the upper or it's the spring itself. Those would be the 2 places that I would look.
Okay, thank you.
Make sure you get your sticker.
I've got 2 questions for you.
Okay, let's take the first one first.
One's a simple timing question. You've got an 1800 pancake type 4 engine. 1800 type 4 pancake engine.
Okay.
Setting the time at 7.5 degrees. Yeah. And around 900 RPM. Sorry? Sorry?
Why are you setting your timing at idle?
Sorry, 900. 900 RPM.
Okay, why are you setting your timing at idle? Do you drive it idle?
Because, there's a sticker on the engine that says so.
Okay. So it goes back to my question. Why are you setting your timing at idle because you're not driving it idle?
Fair enough.
I'm just asking. It's like, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but the only time I'm driving it idle is around the showgrounds or parking.
Okay, well let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
When I'm setting at 7.5 degrees, is it supposed to be rock steady at 7.5? Because mine flutters. And I have to go with the average.
What type of distillery are you running?
It's a stop standard one.
So is it the 34 vacuum or are you running a 32 mechanical?
34 vacuum.
First thing I would look on any type of variation within that rock steady, it would be a vacuum leak. That would be the first thing I look for, because if you have a slight vacuum leak, that'll end up changing how your timing is setting up. That would be, the first part. That would be the first thing that I actually look at, is like, is there a vacuum leak? Am I pulling a full 10 PSI across the entire system? Is there a small leak in a hose somewhere? Is there a diaphragm that's gone bad in the distributor? Because if you have a small hole in your distributor or a small piece of old, crappy piece of rubber, it'll actually leak vacuum through your distributor.
Okay, so it definitely should be rock steady then?
It should be rock steady, but you're going to have a variation of about 50 RPMs on any distributor that you do, just because of the way the engine cycles. Because you'll get a little bit extra fuel, and it backs it off, and you get less fuel, it picks it up. So it's like you're going to have a little bit of variation, but it shouldn't be like dead on like a brand new car.
Okay. The second question, I've replaced every single hose on the engine, fuel line, bring the pipe, filling it, and every now and again I'm still getting a whiff of petrol. Is that standard?
That's pretty much standard. Do you still have your charcoal canister in place?
I do.
Is it the original canister?
Is it what, sorry?
Is it the original canister?
It is.
Okay, take the canister out, take it apart, go down to the aquarium store, fish store, whatever you guys call it here, get some activated charcoal, repack it, put it back in place.
Okay.
9 times out of 10, any of the petrol smell that you're getting is a secondary vapor off of the vent system. So if your vent system is vented to the outside, like some of them in the US, So, like on some of the 1302s and 1303s and 1305s, we'll have a condensing chamber up underneath the bonnet hood.
Yep.
And what that does is that drops the fuel from vapor back into fluid, back into the tank. On the earlier stuff, if you guys are in the earlier cars, like a lot of you see here, the fuel is actually, vapor is routed to the outside of the vehicle, not going through charcoal. If you have the charcoal, I can almost guarantee you the charcoal is gone bad.
Okay, on the charcoal filter, I've got a few pipes coming in and going back to the distributor or back to the fuel filter. But there's one port that's not connected to anything on the charcoal filter, and there's no two connected to.
Okay, so one of them's going to be off the carburetor, one of them's going to be off your fuel tank, one of them's going to be off your recovery tank, and one of them's going to be a vacuum line at the engine. So the vacuum line is actually what draws all the rest of the vapors back into those charcoal canisters. And then you have the relief valves going back into the tank, so anything that condenses is usable fuel will go back into the tank. So you actually should not be spilling any. So I would actually, that third port, depending on the car, I've actually seen that third or fourth port on some cars where they're capped off from the factory.
Okay.
So you can try that, but if you blow off that cap, that means you probably need a vacuum on that line.
Well, thank you very much.
Great.
Last sticker.
No, we got more. The company that I actually use is up in Tennessee called InDesign. And they were very, very nice enough to send about 100 stickers over here specifically for this show. If you guys got questions, we got free stickers. And I hope I'm not too boring. So. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Oh yeah, you're all right.
All right. Why?
A question regarding dual carbs and single carbs. You have a 1776 Crown Royal single carb. If so, what single carb would you use?
GoCar 35 would probably do my jetting at about 60, 65.
Would you use a single carb rather than a dual carb?
My preference is actually to run dual carbs, and the reason for it is because you have a shorter length between the carburation and the intake. Part of the drawback on that is you're going to get a little bit of icing on the dual carbs. On the 1776, the carburetor would probably run would be a Weber 34, the baby Webers, or a set of Cadrones, original Cadrones, not the piece of Chinese crap that we're starting to see, because you really have to clean those all up, and there's sand cast. And anytime you guys buy brand new carburetors, clean them first. Just assemble them, clean them, take the rubber parts out, put it back together after you clean it. Just a word of advice, because I've seen a lot of crap that will show up in the engine. My preference on a 1776. I've got a friend of mine, Harley Winkleblack. Great dude, retired service, but the guy with the last name was Winkleblack. I mean, come on. And he's a tilt guy too, so you can't harm him for that. He actually has a 1776 that was overbuilt. The horsepower on that one, when we did the dyno on that, is about 120 horsepower. After the retires, the only should be about 93. So it was overbuilt. We're running a single GoCar 34 carburetor, and we're running 65s. 65 on the idle, and then I'm doing I think we're doing a 125 or a 130 on the mains. And the carburetor works beautifully every day, all day. I've also done 1776s with a set of baby 34s, but then you have to detune a little bit because you're putting more fuel into both sides, so you get a little bit more air going in. So if you try to drown your engine in fuel with bigger carbs, it's like the biggest mistake I see is I see guys going, ooh, I want a set of Weber 40s or a set of Weber 44s or a set of 56s. Dude, you don't need a set of 56s unless you're running a 3.2 liter engine that's full balls to the walls.
I've got the 1914, we've got the same.
Yeah, the 1914, run the GoCar, the Solex 34 all day long. or want a good set of drones from the Caddyshack out of the USA, they'll actually set it up to your elevation and to your engine for no charge. You buy a set of carbs from them. I think it's it would be probably about 325 pounds plus shipping. For us, it's about $425 for a set, and they run beautifully. They're set up for the car. They're set up for the engine. They're set up for your elevation. They're basically a plug and play, a little bit of tuning, you're good to go. So it's like if you want a little more balls to the wall, if you want to do a carb, if you want better reliability, run that single 34. Just make sure that you have enough jetting to support the motor. I would never go with a single carb unless you're running like a Weber single dual port. The single stack Webers that the Weber 40s. I would never do that unless it was an 1835, and that would be about the only engine I would actually run that on. Once you go to the 1914s and the 2237s, then you really do need to do a charge because the motor really does need that engine. It needs the fuel, it needs the air, it needs to be able to breathe. Just remember, this is a giant air pump. The more air you can get in, the better it's going to run. Good question, though. I would always pick the duals over the singles, but the singles more economical and probably a little bit less finicky. So it's less temperamental. So you don't have to pump it 7 or 8, 9 times in order to get it to like up idle, and then you have to wait for 5 minutes to get idle. On the single Webers and stuff, you automatic choke, so you can go ahead and just like, you hit it, go ahead and hit it, let it warm up for a little bit, and then you're good to drive. So it depends on what you want to do. If you want to spin around town a little bit quicker, on the dual. On a 1776, I would do controls all day long. And it's like that was the first set of performance carbs that I ever ran on an 1835. It really doesn't matter on the dual carbs because the dual carbs are actually pressure sensitive to 1.4 to 3.2 bars. So you're actually looking at the stock the stock fuel pump, even the mechanical side. Those will work just fine for the fuel requirements that you need because even the Webers only really need a little bit of fuel to maintain the ball. You don't have to overfuel these things because if you overfuel them, you're going to lock your cylinders out and then end up having detonation. Any other thing?
My 1914's got a Carter fuel pump.
So you have a Carter pump and that's what? 3.5?
Yeah.
Okay, but I would actually back that down to about a 2.5, 2.7.
Right.
So I'd actually put a regulator and back that back down. The 1914 doesn't really take a lot of fuel. It's an extremely efficient engine for that size, and it does a lot of performance. But you also remember, if you're dumping more fuel, you're losing a lot just in the gas. I mean, it's like when you go to start to noodle up, if you can smell like it's running fat after it's warmed up, and you know what, it smells fat.
Yeah.
It's like too much fuel come out of the exhaust pipe. Okay, so how many liters of fuel are you going to dump while you're idling? Yeah, it's like you don't need it. It's like the guys who are running like 400 horsepower on these things. It's like if you can't keep it on the ground, it's a fucking waste.
Yeah.
And that's like I love drag racing. I love the 1,000 horsepower. I love nitromethane. But if you can't keep it on the ground, it's of no use.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the carburetors. If you're over carbureting, it's of no use. Yeah, it looks good at a show, but if it runs like a dog around town, you ain't gonna be driving it.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can do 75 miles out here, right? When's the last time you did 75 miles an hour in your vehicle?
Oh, it's a
okay,
screen there.
Okay, but when's the last time you did 75 miles an hour at 4,000 RPM?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would you need that much carburation? You really don't. And it's like you actually want to match the carburation to the engine and how you drive.
Yeah.
And then also your transmission and your brakes.
Yeah.
Because it's no good if you can go and you can stop.
No, I've got Porsche brakes on front.
Brilliant. I have a set of those myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Question. That tall guy back there. The tall guy. Cam. Yeah. The tall guy has a question. Come on. You've asked me like 4 questions today. Come on. Do it on camera.
because you've answered every question.
Well, I told you you're going to have to come up here, and you said, okay, man, we can do that. So I'm calling you out on it. You're the only guy here that's taller than I am. And I'm 6'3". Come on.
All right, so running a 1914 or a 1776 stock clutch, would that suffice?
On my own personal car, I actually run a 1914, and I am running a stock clutch. The wear rate on that clutch is a little bit more that you're going to get because you have a little bit more oomph to get behind it. But as long as you're soft on your release and your adjustments are set up, it's going to last about the same as the 1600. You don't need that hard clutch unless you're doing a hard launch. If you're doing drag rushing, then you need that secondary set of springs. You need that 1,700, 1,800, 2,000 pound clutch. But otherwise, that's one of those wasted bikes that I see. It's like it's overkill. Oh, I've got an 1,800 pound clutch in it. And it's like, okay, I can slip you off the line with a soft clutch.
And second question. A good friend of mine has a stock 1600 engine.
Dual port or single? Does it have two on the intake or
yes,
one on the intake?
Two.
Okay, that's a dual port?
Yeah. They're running twin rubber carbs at 34s.
So the baby rubbers.
I'm wondering if it's giving it too much fuel or too much.
The carburation actually won't give you too much fuel. You're going to have to actually check on the jets on those. So if you go on to Weber Redline USA.com, they actually have a chart for your baselines. And they do fine tuning. So you can do from a 30, 31, 32, 33 on your intakes. You could do, an 18 or a 102 or a 240 on your mains. So it's like there are a set of baselines. It's like if you want to email me when I get back to the States, I'm more than happy to ship you over what we use for our baseline setups. But you also have to remember on the baseline setups, it's going to depend on how you are driving, what you're doing with your car, how you are using your car. So if your foot's in the floorboards all the time, you're going to leave a little bit more on your mains and a little less on your idles. If you're doing more around town, you're going to need maybe one or two sizes larger on your idle and a little bit less on your mains. So a lot of it has to do with elevation. It has to do with how you drive.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, we got 10 minutes, which is about 5 or 6 questions. And I'm more than happy to stop early and drink beer. So you guys have me for 10 minutes. Oh, we got another one over here. Are you going to try to win a t-shirt or a magazine? You're going to try to win a t-shirt or a magazine? Which one?
Try and come forward a bit to the range. Bring down the batteries on its way.
Battery's running out. Obviously you've been in the game a long time.
Yeah, I've been doing this a couple of days.
I was just thinking that obviously you started off as a hobby and then you turned professional.
Yes. I've been a hobbyist for probably my mom said that I used to want to play with my Volkswagens, my trucks, and my cars. So one of the things that I've actually got in the States is I have a second company called Classic Trucks. So we do early American trucks from about 1940 all the way through the 80s, 90s. So that's like, for me, I'm a motorhead. If it's got petrol or diesel in it, I'm good. So yes, I've been doing this for about 15 years professionally.
Well, I'm just thinking about Volkswagens. Has there been any particular Volkswagen within all that period that you actually got rid of and still regret to this day?
1969. For me, that was the most brilliant year. And the reason that was the most brilliant year is this is the first year that they had full IRS and ball joints at the same time. I've also gone to the fact of actually pulling in a 1964 original ragtop section, resectioning my roof, so I have a full ragtop now. My static suspension would not survive your roads. My car is literally that far off the ground. My partner here, Miss Susan, she actually has a 1959 ragtop that is that far off the ground. So it's one of those passions that I've always had. I will never get rid of that car. My son will inherit that car.
How long have you got that one?
I've had that car 25 years. It's already gone through 3 restorations, 5 motors, 2 transmission boxes. It used to be my test wheel. So it's like, because I understood that car, I understood how it felt, how it moved, I understood the reactions within that car. So when I would build brand new suspensions for another plant, we would actually put it onto my car in order to test it, to tune it, to make sure that everything was right, because I knew the rest of that car so well.
And have you ever took on a project that you wish you hadn't? Have you ever taken on a project, a restoration that you wish you hadn't?
There's been a few of them. And to be honest with you, some cars want to be built. There are some cars that are completely knackered, that, and I mean that in a strictly English sense of the word, that just fight you day in and day out. It doesn't matter what you do, something else is going to fail. And we just had a 1958 panel bus that's almost ready to go home. That's been almost ready to go home for 2 months. So we would do test and tuning. So if somebody is 100 miles from my shop, we'll do 100 miles on the car and make sure everything's working right, the electrical. So with this one, he's less than 100 miles, but we take it up for 5 miles, something not working correctly. We fix that, bring it back into the shop. We take it up for another 5 miles. Fuel gauge isn't working and now leaking. We fix that. These are all brand new parts. We fix that, bring it back. All of a sudden the alternator's not working correctly. Bring it back and fix that. So there are some cars that really will fight you day in and day out, and I actually think it has more to do about the owner, not us, it's the owner. But then we also have cars, we had a 1968 US spec car that we turned into a 68 Euro. So we removed the dash pad, did the fill-ins, and we made it look like a 68 Euro, which is something you guys would have had. So in 68, we actually had dash pads. In 68, you guys did not have dash pads for the Beetles. So we had done this car, the car wanted to be built, it just breezed through. We had no problems whatsoever with the car through the entire build, including all of the testing. Everything worked, everything, all the brand new components worked, all the brakes worked, all the electrical, we had no problem. So a lot of it has to do with the clients themselves. I actually think the cars pick up some of the client, their owners. It does pick up some of that personality. If the person, vibe. Yeah, you get that vibe. It's like when the cars are in our shop, they're my car. They're my guys' cars. Because, I mean, we're living with these cars for 8 months to 18 months. It takes almost, if you guys want a full restoration, we're looking at 18 months to 2 years depending on your checkbook. And I'm being dead serious. And it's not cheap. We are taking these cars completely apart, all the way down to bare metal, looking for anything and everything that has failed, worn out, or gone bad. Well, it's like, oh, my brake line doesn't work. We'll go ahead and we'll drive that. When a car leaves my shop, it is a brand new, very old car.
Nice. So, that's one. Can I have a t-shirt to swap this one out on to?
You can sweat that one out. Come up here after a few minutes. So we got time for probably 1 or 2 more questions.
One more.
Okay, we got one more, and then I'm going to give away a magazine on this one, so it better be a good one.
You've already had 2.
You've already had 2.
Yeah, but I'm going for a t-shirt.
You want a t-shirt?
There'll be more tomorrow.
The guy just wants a t-shirt, never mind the question.
Go on then.
Major Ivan Hirsch is like the founder of Volkswagen after the Second World War. Which town in the United Kingdom Major Ivan Hirsch buried in?
Hey! Woo!
Got one.
That is a weird question. Okay. Major Ivan, a lot of people are actually talking about, oh, this is Adolf Hitler's car. Any of us guys who actually know the history, this is not Adolf Hitler's car. This is Ferdinand Porsche. The only reason that Adolf Hitler was involved is because he was in power, he was doing the purse strings. So if you actually get the crap, oh, it's a Nazi car, tell them to wank off. Ferdinand Porsche, well, being the businessman that he was, saw where the power structure was, saw where the money was coming from, and decided to go, this is what we're going to do. And then when the British general came in and rebuilt the industry, it's because it had to be happen. Otherwise, you guys would be paying Germany's bills for the next 10 to 15 years if they didn't have the industry. So anytime that you hear this is Adolf or a Nazi car, tell them to fuck off. And I am out. Check us out, airkooledcustoms.com. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I enjoy you guys. Thank you very much. Out.